Good Friday morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to The Dose. It's the Magic Man, Mark Hutchins, back with the intro with Mr. Jereme Kleven and the one and the only Mr. Byron Filson behind the glass. And
double it up.
We've got to double up Dolphin sound. I like it.
I thought that was a really wussy giddy up.
Yeah. It was bad. The delivery was bad.
I like that you went to dolphin. That was
yeah. You know,
was that
the
better?
headphones, it sounded like a dolphin.
I didn't do that.
There you go. That was a little better.
And Brian North back in the house, too.
What up? What up?
Good morning. And Stephanie is still here in the corner observing.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Yeah. No, I didn't put baby in the corner.
I don't know how we got her back for another day.
So happy
Too much fun around
Friday.
here.
Happy Friday dosers. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to blow your minds today.
Ooh.
And why are we going to blow your minds today? We're going to talk about comping, pricing, etc.
Well, yesterday we were talking about comps without comps, right? How to kind of lead people
How
lead.
Brian leads people into his world without it, so to say. His layer of home.
So, Brian, how do you pick up girls? Well, we talk about comps without talking comps.
60% of the time it works all the
That's how I
time.
found my wife, and we've been together ever since.
Oh,
That's a precious,
that's magical.
untrue story.
It's magical. But let's talk about that. I mean, it
So,
always seems to be a topic of
Without
conversation,
comps,
right?
leading into, with comps.
comps,
You know,
yeah.
if we're closing the deal, kind of wrapping up that listing presentation and how, you're kind of, again, have some synergy with us where you don't need to have this fancy bells and whistles, just shooting people straight, being honest and straightforward. And so, kind of pick it up with that.
Yeah, it's not the sexiest topic in the whole world to talk about comps, right?
I know. It's just that word everyone hates.
Yeah, it's just like a really
what do we call it? What do we call it?
Well, you just did a class the other day. I saw
Yeah.
on the brokers you were streaming that out. We were saying off air too that we talk a lot on on the dose here about just the activities and the prospecting, how to hustle and go get business and all those different kinds of things that we need more of these true nuggets that. That agents, out there can use right now that's more in the business, not necessarily on the business, but in the business. Because, this is something that's current and relevant. I don't care if it's 20 years ago or today. I mean, we're all doing it.
Yeah. I love the conversation because the conversation is so subjective, right? I mean, even for an appraiser, it's like we'll go argue an appraiser till we're blue in the face. So my disclaimer is anything I'm about to say right now, I'm sure half the people listening are going to disagree with one component or another. I'm not saying that what I'm going to talk about is the holy grail. A lot of it is what was taught to me and a lot of it's from practice, what's worked in the field. But, I think the relevancy of talking about comparables or comps or whatever is, there's really probably three components to it. One is on the listing side, you've got at some point you have to talk about what the value of someone's house is. And generally our lowest lying fruit is comps. Mm-hmm. There's also, if you're being thorough in the presentation of an offer to another cross agent, you should probably send some comps with it unless it's at full ask, right? And you're giving away the farm, but have some data to support the offer that you're going to send. And then if an appraiser...
I usually ignore that buyer's agent's comp, by the way.
Oh, you do? And most do, of course, and you should, right? That's what you should do.
From 4 miles away. Did you guys not see this house?
Well, it's so it's pretty interesting. I mean, that's exactly the point. Is don't send them from 4 miles away, right? And I'll touch on that in brief. But then the third part is at some point, and I know this is a delicate conversation, but if an appraiser is having a challenge, right, and they reach out to you and say, hey, obviously you, another agent, a buyer, and a seller, all figured out that this was the value. Can you help me understand what you were seeing? You should probably be prepared for that. And there's three real different presentations that you might present the data in when presenting to those three different parties. So, the first thing that we talked kind of about the brokerage is in this real generic synopsis. And this was taught to me by an appraiser. I'm sure there's appraisers out there that are going to go, you're going to melt down when I say this. But fundamentally, I should be in the ballpark. And it's, that the home is within 10 to 15% of the livable square footage. It's within 1 square mile. It's within 10 years of the build date, which is 5 years either side of the subject property. It's going to be within the last preferably 3 months sold. If you don't have those comps, then 6 months. And then, there's subjectivity after that if you don't have enough comp data. And then like features, single story versus 2-story, pool, no pool, garage, no garage, those kinds of things. So if you play this back and you listen to that and you live in that those rules generally, you are going to have a really, really strong set of comps. So then from there, the conversations, the one thing I want to touch on, and this I'll keep it really short, is what is a pool worth? right? I love that question. What is a 3-car garage worth? What is the difference in disparity between a single story and a 2-story in this neighborhood? And the answer to those questions every single time is whatever the comps say. So if I have 3 solds model matches with pools, and I have 3 solds model matches, all 6 are the same model match with no pool, and there's no price disparity, guess what a pool is worth? Zero. Literally zero.
Right.
Well, then when a seller asks you, then I have to get some value out of my pool. The answer is if someone wants a pool, yours will sell faster. Right. That's it.
Yeah,
but
it makes it more appealing to the buyer.
You got it.
It's the appealing factor. You know what else it is too? A lender actually looks at a pool and basically says, I don't want it. They don't want pools. They love lending on pools.
Lenders talk like that?
They do. I don't want it. You know, because they don't.
Yeah.
It's a gaping liability. If it forecloses or they ditch the property and it becomes green and then it slowly descends and then some kid falls and breaks their neck, God forbid. I mean, it's now the bank's problem.
That's right.
So really, all an appraiser really is going to give to is maybe a $5,000 to $10,000 adjustment, depending if they can even go there. Like you said, if you've got the data,
if I have data to say it's not worth anything, it'll be zero,
and they'll put zero.
That's exactly right,
and they will absolutely do it, and you can't fight it because it's a moot point. There's no. Like you said, that the data that will suggest it, right? The guy that put $60,000 into his pool, you should have thought about that.
I always say it's like rims and tint. It's like rims and tint.
You're never gonna get that.
Ever have a car you go to trade in? You're like, look at my 20s. Those are brand new Pirellis, and they're like,
bro.
You know what? Go take them off.
Yeah.
We'll put the stocks back on it. We're giving you the same money
because they'll just take them off.
It's rims and tint. It's rims and tint. It's for use, right? What's a pool worth? If there's no data to support that there's a value for your pool, it's for use, right? You got to enjoy it, just like you got to enjoy your rims and your tint, right? That's it. So unfortunately, that's
appealing.
Like the whole, what's my home automation system worth? I can't find comps that say whether a home did or didn't have home automation. So what is home automation worth? That's a use conversation. Someone may be willing to pay a little bit more, or somebody may be willing to buy it faster than the one that doesn't. But at the end of the day, I don't have any data to suggest that. It comes down to an appraiser probably, again, agree or disagree, but that's probably a cost analysis approach versus a sales analysis,
is a cost
right?
approach.
But without boring anybody, I think there's just this fundamental thing of what's a pool worth, what's a hillside lot worth, what is a 2-story, 3-story, 3-car garage, 2-car garage. The answer is whatever the comps say. If you ever ask me that question, I'm going to give you the same answer every time.
What does the data say? And whatever the buyer, like you said too, it's the appeal factor. Yeah, if you're staring at the mountain, of course your house is probably going to sell quicker than the one that's selling at looking at the ravine or looking at the canal.
So what's it worth? What someone's willing to pay for it? I can't tell you. I can't give you a $42,500 premium upgrade for your mountain view unless I have 3 sold comps just like yours that have mountain views that got $42,500. Right. That's it. And that's the value, right? After that, we go wing it. And if someone wants to pay more, they do. So the next part of comps that just kind of, bullet pointing and going back to those 3 of how to deliver comps to a seller, how to deliver comps to a buyer, and how to deliver comps to an appraiser, if they ask. Is on the seller side. So you're going to a listing and presentation with comps. Again, the way I do utilize comps in a listing presentation is I only talk about it until they ask to see them. So again, I leave them in my briefcase at all times. I do not break out the comps and start shuffling paper around the table and showing and pointing and doing all that stuff. All I say is, here's exactly how I deliver it, and it's what I call the art of ranging. Okay, so when we're delivering comps to a seller, it's the art of ranging, okay? Different than the art of exactness, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We're ranging everything. So this is generally how I say, let's say that the house is I think that the value is $500,000. And it's like, I got all the data in the world to support it. My range is going to be, hey, I've got comps to range from 440 to 520.
Right.
All right? Because inevitably, what is the seller going to say they want to list it for?
Always higher, right?
520.
Right.
So if I give them a range like 450 and 550, what are they going to list for? 550. So for me, they know it's worth 500, right? They do. They just are going to try and work me and wish and hope because the wind blows a different way, than their neighbor's house who was a model match that it's worth $50,000 more. If I give them that low end range, it's like, well, gosh, that just seems so low. You're right. Those comps are terrible. It's super low, and you call it tricks, slickery, whatever it is. At the end of the day, look, if I deliver the data in a very uniform, generic way, we know the pattern of what the seller's going to do, right?
Well, you're not being slick or trickery. It's we're dealing with emotion.
That's it.
That's what we're dealing with people.
You got
That's
it.
all it is.
And by the way, I left them room in the conversation to list it higher than value. Right. But we want to keep our sellers honest because this is a very contentious part of the conversation. Right. At the end of the day, they're selling us as much as we're selling them. And it's just a fact at this moment. Right. Yep. So now I've got the range. The range there now goes to a second layer of conversation, which is I'm giving you the range of what I think the home would sell for. But the conversation is now there's real life. Generally, there's something like you guys need to net a certain amount to get to your next purchase, or there's a timeline by which you need to sell, and you're going to tell me how that feeds into this range. Brian, we need to sell really quick, so I think we should list for somewhere around 500. What do you think? It feels a little low. I understand. Or Brian, we need to net. So, your bottom line is 510. Great. So we should probably list for 525, right? So now I can inject real life conversation. Let me inject a little bit of candor. I had this real life. I was in a listing appointment last Friday, and this is exactly how I presented the numbers. I said I feel like the value is probably 900, and I said 850 to 950. Okay, was the value. This I did give. This is a higher price point, so $50,000 isn't going to kill us one way or the other. And interestingly enough, he goes, okay, well, we were hopeful that we could list for $1 million. So he went 50 grand over high comp value. And I said, great, look, as long as we have time and they're moving in 6 months out of country, okay, internationally. So they have time. So I said, we could always try that. He transitions the conversation to, so would you discount your commission? Okay. He asked me right away. And I said, no, but I'd be open to a performance-based commission structure. I don't know if you guys have ever discussed or talked about performance-based, but if I sell it for a certain amount, I get a full pop. If I sell it for less, I get a little less. And if I sell it below the comps, then I'll do it for 1%. But you got to incentivize me to go and earn the money, right? So we got to that point. And he goes, man, I really like that concept. I said, but hold on a second. And this is where the candor came into play. I said, hold on a second. If we're going to do a performance-based structure, $1 million can't even be part of the conversation because there's no way I'll sell it for that, which means I'm no longer incentivized and I'll be defeated to sell your property in the first place. So what we do have to do if we're going to have a performance-based structure, which I'm more than open to, is we have to get real about the data. So what happened is I utilized the conversation of compensation to now have a really, really real conversation about the data because I'm playing to the mentality of I want to work you on commission and I'd be happy to play performance, but you have to actually give me a shot to sell it for what it's worth. And it got him really thinking about, holy cow, my house isn't worth $1 million after we really got down to brass tacks. And what I said was, if it's performance-based, you have to give me a chance to perform. And if it's not, and it's purely emotion and it's purely net revenue, which means nothing to value at all, then I'll happily do it. But you got to pay me full commission to sell it for more than it's worth. And he was like, wow, we've got a lot to chew on. Why don't we just take a minute here and you can we'll follow up tomorrow and go from there. But there's kind of a combo of comps and ranging and candor, right? And playing with compensation. So there's that, right? So that's the art of ranging, right, on comps. And then the art of exactness is now I'm going to present an offer. And we talked about not liking the agent's 4 mile away comp. Right. Don't be that agent, right? Don't be that agent. I mean, you really have to. I always say to my clients, I will grind. I'll write the most aggressive offer ever in the history of the planet, so long as I have some data to support the offer. Right. Don't ask me to write an offer that I'm going to look like a fool because we're just going to look like a fool and we're not going to go anywhere. And if you have data based off of that set of general criteria I gave you at the beginning, go put together a comp analysis that you could win in a war to the death, right? So someone's going to go, yeah, but I have a comp, in this neighborhood. And you go, yeah, but mine's closer. Yeah, but this one had that. Yeah, but mine's in, the same condition as that property. But mine's within 10 years of the build date. Well, but mine was within 3 months, yours was within 6 months. You want to be the one to win and have the listing agent be the one that's telling you they're using the 4 mile away comp or the 8-month-old sale or those sorts of things. Really fine tune that information. So when you deliver it, it really just comes down to more often than not in negotiations. My goal, I always say to my buyers, I will find the seller's bottom no matter what. They literally, it's to the point where you find their bottom when they quit, when it's done, when we miss terms of acceptance and we're out of contract and we're not compliant. I will tell you when we reached bottom, and that might be $1 from list price, and it might be $100,000 from list price, and then you have a decision to make. Do you want to buy it or not? But the only way I can get there is with sophisticated data to back up an intelligent delivery of an offer to the cross agent so I can win for you. And I'll do that at the most ridiculous numbers ever as long as I have the data to do it. So that's the art of exactness, right? So I'm not ranging anybody. I'm not going, yeah, you know, we have comps on your listing and my offer's plus or minus 10, 15 grand. No way.
So you're literally putting it out there right out of the gate. This is what I want to get it for.
Well, there's the art of negotiation too. So I'll tell you, we don't have to spin too crazy down this, but I pre-negotiate every deal. And that's just, I call it lobbing grenades, you know, so I'll call the agent. I do that, by the way, when I'm in the house. A lot of the homes we show, the agent, because of price point, agent shows up to be there. Sure. And I start chumming it up with the agent right away. And, you know, I'll lob grenades, you know, $1.2 million house. Be like, yeah, you know, if we can get this one, I did this was on Saturday. I said to the guy, yeah, they're just trying to decide, you know, how close to 800 grand can we get it? You know, and he's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Right. And then I joked with my client. I'm like, well, you know, it's funny that I say that and it seems chummy, but now when we write an offer at $1 million and it's $1 million too, it feels a lot better than the 800 I lobbed at him.
Right.
So I'm never not negotiating at some point, even if I'm chumming it up in the house. And then from there, you know, it really depends. So 2 examples quickly. One is we just closed on a deal today, a house that was listed at $2.5 million, $2.5 million, and my client's max number was $2.2 million. So I called the agent up. I said, is there room? Yes. He asked for feedback, and I go, we just have to be too far away. You know, love the house, number one choice. We'd just be too far away. Hey, there's a lot of room in the house. You know, let us know. They're definitely negotiable. And I called him up and I told my client, I said, should we start lower and negotiate up to 2.2 or not? I said, listen, we're so far away from list. It's $300,000. We're so far away from list. Just bring your best offer. It was cash. It was as is. It was a close whenever the seller wants. No home inspection, no nothing. Crystal clean as a 400K earnest. Okay.
Oh,
but they were like, we're all in. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
So I called the agent before I sent the offer and I said, here's the deal. We're going to write you a cash offer at $2.2 million, $400,000 earnest deposit as is. Here's the deal. I want you to go ask your seller if they'll take the deal. This is not a negotiation. This is it. This is the bottom line. I'm going to write into the offer. Should I write it? Best and final. Come back and let me know. He calls me back and he goes, hey, why don't you just get it on paper and send it over? And I said, no. This isn't an emotional, get them bound, get a first pencil to the contract, and then we're going to counter, and then we'll work a deal. At least it's a starting point. This is not a starting point. No. This is the deal. If you guys want it, let me know. He calls me back a little bit later. He goes, send it over. I send it over to him. He looks at it. To be honest, we wrote it 200 grand earnest. He countered at 400 grand earnest. I go, you got to win something. Like 200 grand lost is going to really be that big of a deal. It made them feel like a win, right, on the deal.
Right.
And at the number that we started at, we got our deal. Didn't move one penny on the deal.
Beautiful.
But that was just by being completely transparent, black and white. And then here's the most important part, performing when he said yes. So you can go posture and be a tough guy all day long.
Right.
To bring $2.2 million cash to the table with a $400,000 earnest deposit, that's being able to honor your word and stand proud of your offer. But that would be one scenario where on another scenario, I might leave a lot of room to negotiate to a midpoint or something like that. But yeah. So anyway, with comps,
that's all good stuff.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it. All right. Well, let's stop for the day. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.
This is another great series, by the way, with Mr. Brian North.
Fantastic. It never is.
We're only able to squeeze you in for the last few days. We're gonna probably have to cut it off there, let you enjoy your weekend. But we're going to have you back for round 3.
Yeah,
I think we left, I
didn't knock them out, huh?
We're always leaving it on the table, right?
Hey, you guys, anytime, man.
It's how quick you get back up.
Have been great to us.
We want you back at any time, brother.
You let me know, man. Anything
You're always laying it down.
Yeah, I love what I do. We love what we do.
We love what we do.
You know what I mean? So I really appreciate the platform. It means a lot.
We appreciate you. And, it's an honor to ride together in this industry and do what we do. So you guys keep doing your thing.
I appreciate it, man.
Rocking and rolling.
Done.
Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday.
See ya.